all you people out there in YouTube land. My name is Kenneth Lawton. I am the author of the book Echoes of Isolation, A Personal Journey Through the Pandemic. Welcome to episode 2 of my book reading series entitled Readings from This Book. I really need to get a better title. Anyway, in today's reading, I'm going to jump way ahead in the book to the beginning of 2021. It seems that now is probably a good time to talk about what happened back then, because if you've been paying any attention at all, things are, how should I put this, a little strange right now. There's a literary term that applies to much of what we're seeing today, gaslighting. If you're not familiar with this, it's a term that's used to describe when someone tells you of an event, but does so in a way that makes you question what you remembered correctly, or in some cases, question your reality altogether. It is a psychological manipulation tactic. It's a form of propaganda, and it's exceedingly effective. It's relevant to today's reading because today I'm going to read about what happened on January 6th, 2021. You might remember that day as the day that an angry mob stormed the Capitol complex in an effort to prevent Congress from certifying Biden's win. And in the time since all that happened, much of our sitting government and a whole lot of media have been reporting that this was nothing more than just a bunch of tourists that entered the building taking pictures, and nothing bad happened that day. There was no attempted insurrection. There was nothing stolen or damaged. No cops got beaten. They didn't rush all the members of Congress into bunkers to keep them safe. No feces was smeared on the wall. I had said before that this book serves as a historical account, and I wrote things down as they happened. And in the case of January 6th, I watched that live on TV as it happened. There was no media spin. There was no gaslighting. It was right there for all to see. It happened. We saw it happen live. It was terrifying, and it was disheartening all at the same time. The entries that I'm going to read right now get kind of political. I mean, really, what do you expect? Also, I was a little angry about it. But I started off writing about, encouraging things about how the government was about to return to sanity and about how things, seem to be turning around. Things are really going to look up in this country. And then it abruptly shifted to a much darker place. Now, I'm posting this now knowing full well that many of my friends and family are not going to be happy when with what I have to say here, if they haven't read that part of the book yet. But look, don't be mad at me. I'm merely reminding you of what actually did happen that day. January 6, 2021, day 297. Joy. Seriously, just the first 6 days of this year have already proven to be better than the entirety of last year. I spoke yesterday about the importance of the Georgia runoff elections, and I'm thrilled to say that everything came out well as we had hoped. For more on this matter, please see my other site where I spoke about it. There is actually a link here that points to my fake news site where I talked about that. I promised I'd stop it with the politics here, and I'm really trying to stick to that. So on to other matters. It has been a busy week at work. It's only about halfway through hump day, and today I found out that our move back to the office is somewhere between July and not going back at all, unless there is a meeting to attend in person. I can't even really say that I'm upset about it, really. I've kind of gotten used to this whole working from home thing. At this point, I'm every bit as functional as I would be otherwise, so why not, right? It's just weird. January 7th, 2021, day 298. I spoke too soon. Evidently, things weren't looking so good for the new year as I had stated yesterday, because we witnessed an actual insurrection on the Capitol complex yesterday, all in an effort to prevent Biden from being declared the winner by Congress. Look, I get it. Trump supporters are pissed off that he lost the election. And boy, do we know what that feels like. Remember when Hillary won the popular vote and then the country got stuck with Cittadini anyway? Peppered Farm members. You know what we didn't do? We didn't storm the Capitol in an effort to overturn the election, even though, and I'm not making this up, he lost by over 3 million votes. Further proof that the Electoral College is a pile of shit that should have been swept away years ago. Let me be absolutely clear about something here. This election was the single most secure election in American history, in all of history. And the reason that we know this is that for months before the election, it was clear that it was going to be the single most highly watched and scrutinized election in history. Election officials, Democrat and Republican alike, knew this was going to be the case, so they tightened all the screws. That way, when Trump and his team of inept lawyers start filing lawsuits, every single one of them was shot down for lack of evidence, or in some cases being laughably preposterous. And even after it was conclusively shown that between failed lawsuits, audits, multiple recounts, the election was deemed to be secure, correct, and again, let me be clear, without fraud, Trump continued to insist that the election was rigged and that he really won. The idea persisted Republican congresspeople are going to press and saying things like 70 million people thought this was election fraudulent. Well, god damn it. They only think that because you keep telling them that. That much is clear because there is zero evidence that any of that is true at all in any universe. So no human could possibly reach that conclusion without it being told to them over and over again. Again, let me be clear. There was no fraud in this election. This has been proven over and over again, and if you still believe there was fraud, it's because you refuse to even acknowledge the self-evident facts of the matter. The biggest of those facts is that you are being lied to. The final play was for the POTUS himself to incite an insurrection to prevent the election from being finalized by Congress, all based on a pile of lies. The silver lining to all of this is that Trump has now lost all support. The GOP has turned their back on him because he crossed the line. When given the opportunity to fix the problem that he started, he actually incited it one more time. As of the time that I'm writing this, Congress is already talking about impeaching him again, for real this time, or invoking the 25th Amendment, possibly as early as tonight. By the way, I'm going to interject in the middle of my reading that none of that actually happened except for the impeachment, and that didn't mean anything anyway. Back to the story. Let me be clear about one more thing. It's about damn time, you complicit assholes. You were the ones that allowed it to get this far to begin with. And any in Congress that still raised objections to certify the votes yesterday actively participated in that insurrection, and they need to be expelled from Congress. January 8th, 2021, day 299. Just sad. You know, right about now, we should be talking about how this new year is starting off and how encouraging things are. But no, and we can't do that just yet. And look, I'm not going to go into another rant about this. But, okay, I might. Sometimes I can't help myself. Here's some of my favorite photos from the other day with a couple of comments. Showing here's a nice picture of this gigantic crowd standing outside the Capitol complex. Man, I remember back in 2016 when Ciuttolini won the election and we all said, how bad can it get? Well, how about a crashed economy, a worldwide pandemic, and Trump supporters storming the Capitol building to interfere with the government? All based on 4 years of bullshit and right-wing conspiracy theories perpetuated by Trump and others in our actual government? These people are acting on fabricated hate and rage that's been fed to them by a propaganda machine. It's stupid, it's shameful, and it's gone on too long. People keep trying to compare this to the BLM, the Black Lives Matters protests, and allow me to please put the false equivalents to bed once and for all. The BLM protests were about civil rights. They were directly related to real events, real police brutality, real people being killed for no reason, to which the government responded with even more brutal force. This movement is based on a bunch of fear tactics that have been jammed into the faces of these people for 4 years. 4 years worth of distrusting actual news in favor of lies confirming their existing bias. Lies that confirm their existing fears and xenophobia. There is no comparison at all. And the way the government handled both of them makes it much more clear that the BLM protesters were right all along. Stick that in your pipe and choke on it. Here we see a bunch of people scaling the walls. Yeah, they don't really do a whole lot to hold people out, do they? And then you got this fucking jerk-off sitting inside of Pelosi's office with his foot up on the desk. And then you get these people. There's one guy. Yeah, if you support these groups, these are the people that represent you. The guy on the right is wearing his work badge. Like I said the other day, you should be ashamed. And this fucking guy, this is completely unacceptable. The Confederate flag, the flag that traitors went to war against our country. America's equivalent of the swastika, but it's all of its intended racism. I am without words to describe how furious I am about that. And if you support this guy represents you. You should be ashamed for that too. But one more thing. There needs to be accountability for this. 4 years of propaganda, lies, and misinformation. Right-wing media and social media spreading it all around. It riled up these people to think that it was acceptable to storm the actual government. There needs to be consequences for this. Trump needs to be removed. Senators Cruz and Hawley, who after the insurrection came back to the floor and spewed the same lies that fueled the event, they need to be expelled. This, in fact, should have already happened. Clearly, they do not represent or approve of this government, so we should free them of it. I do not wish to post about this again. I want to go back to living my life without this fucking right-wing bullshit screwing up our country anymore. Enough is enough. Well, that was something, wasn't it? I think that the most disappointing takeaway from everything that I just read there was that there was, in fact, no follow-up at all. There was no accountability. The people that I mentioned by name were not expelled. In fact, nothing happened. Well, wait, one thing did happen. our new president, you might have heard of him. He just pardoned 1,500 people that were involved in that event. People that beat the cops. People that wiped their shit on the walls. People that stole stuff. People that broke stuff. So not only was there no accountability for the ringleaders of the whole thing, the people that did the actual violence have been cleared and they've been set free of their consequences too. I'm going to leave it to you to form your own opinion about how and why our government decided to let this happen and do nothing about it. You've seen for yourself what really happened. And don't let the gaslighting and propaganda lull you into thinking that none of it was real, because it was. It was real. It happened. And it was terrifying. And it should scare the hell out of you that they don't intend to do anything to ever prevent it from happening again, let alone doing anything about what already happened. That concludes my reading for today. Look, I hope you've been entertained by this, even if there was a little bit of, anger in there. I'm going to try in the future to not do readings that are anything as heavy as this. I'd really like to try to keep things lighter. The tone of this book is much, much lighter than all of that. I would say that maybe 10% of the book has got stuff like that in it. So, again, I hope you enjoyed what you saw here today. And if you did, I'd like you to hit the subscribe button, please. Tell your friends about it. Tell everybody about it. And share the video. And I hope you come back for the next episode. Thank you very much.